Divorced men. What happened when she tried to enter your house and you said leave? Story 1. My ex, Kayla, showed up at my house on a Sunday morning with a tote bag and the confidence of someone who still thought she owned the place. I opened the door on the chain and she immediately tried to push it wider with her hip. Move, she said. I'm just grabbing my grandmother's ring. The ring was in the divorce inventory. You signed it away, I told her. She rolled her eyes like I was being dramatic. Stop acting like a stranger. I lived here. Not anymore. Leave. She reached for the chain latch. That's when my neighbor, Mr. Ortega, stepped out with his dog and paused. Kayla froze, then tried to switch to sweet. Hi. Sorry, quick thing. Mr. Ortega didn't even answer her. He looked at me and said, You want me to call? Kayla's face went hard. You're really going to embarrass me like this? I pulled my phone out and hit record. Kayla, you are not allowed inside. Leave my property, she smirked. Record me. Post it. You'll look obsessed. Then she did the dumbest thing possible. She stepped over my threshold with her foot, like that magically made it hers again. I didn't touch her. I just said, loud enough for the street, get out of my house. She tried to argue until she heard the 911 operator's voice from my speaker. Suddenly, she was backing up, hands raised like I'd wronged her. 2 minutes later, a patrol car rolled up. Kayla tried crying. I showed the recording. The officer asked her one question. Why did you step inside after he told you to leave? She opened her mouth, realized there was no good answer, and walked to her car in total silence. Story 2. My ex-wife's new boyfriend brought her to my place like they were a team. I recognized his truck from the gym, one of those loud ones that wants attention. She knocked like she was polite, but the second I opened the door, she tried sliding past me. I'm coming in, she said. I need to see the kids' rooms. I don't trust you. The kids are with my sister, I said. And you're not coming in. Her boyfriend laughed. Man, you can't keep her out. That's her house too. I pointed at the door frame where the new deadbolt was. Court order says it's mine. So leave. She got right up in my face, eyes bright like she wanted a scene. You're hiding something. Are you living with someone? Are you... I stepped back and shut the door halfway. I'm asking once. Leave. That's when her boyfriend put his hand on the edge of my door to stop it closing. I didn't get loud. I didn't get tough. I just said, take your hand off my door. He didn't. So I called the non-emergency line and put it on speaker. Calm voice, clear words. My ex and her boyfriend are refusing to leave. He's blocking my door. My ex's face dropped because she realized it wasn't a yelling match anymore. It was documentation. When the officer arrived, the boyfriend tried the macho routine. The officer asked him, Do you live here? He said no. Then why is your hand on his door? My ex tried to pivot to, I'm worried about the kids. The officer nodded and said, That's for family court. Today you're trespassing. Watching her boyfriend backpedal was almost funny. Watching her realize she couldn't bully her way into my space anymore? That was the best part. Story 3. 3 months after the divorce, my ex showed up in the rain. Mascara already running like she'd practiced the look. She was holding a casserole dish. I made your favorite, she said softly. Can I come in? Just to talk. I didn't even step aside. No. Leave. Her smile twitched. You're still mad? I'm done, I said. Leave. She looked past me into the hallway like she expected to see the old version of our life waiting for her. Then she tried the move. Foot forward, shoulder turning, like she'd done 1,000 times before. I blocked the doorway with my body, still calm. Don't. Her voice sharpened instantly. You can't keep me out. I have things here. You don't, I said. You removed everything during mediation. She slammed the casserole dish down on my porch railing so hard the lid rattled. So this is it? You're really going to act like I'm a criminal? I held up my phone. I'm going to say this clearly. You are not allowed inside. Leave. She stared at the phone, then at me, then back at the phone like she hated that I wasn't playing the old game. Argue, plead, fold. Finally, she hissed. You'll regret being cold. I nodded. Maybe. But you're still leaving. She grabbed the dish and stormed down the steps. Except halfway down, she slipped a little and caught herself on the railing. For a second, she looked scared. My instinct tried to kick in. The husband reflex. Then she turned and snapped, Don't just stand there, and that's when it hit me. This wasn't a vulnerable moment. It was still control, still entitlement. I stepped back inside and locked the door. She screamed my name from the yard like I owed her attention. I didn't answer once. The next day, my sister texted me, Your ex posted a story saying you abandoned her in the rain, LOL. I replied with one screenshot, the video of me telling her to leave. Calm, clear, undeniable. She deleted her post within an hour. Story 4. My ex tried getting into my house using an old garage code. I only knew because my phone pinged. Garage door. Incorrect code entered. 3. Then came the knock. Aggressive, fast, angry. When I opened the door, she was already halfway through a sentence. Why did you change the code? I need to get my... Leave, I said. She blinked like she hadn't heard right. Excuse me? I changed the code because you don't live here. Leave, she started shaking her head, laughing like I was joking. You are so petty. I'm not here for you. I'm here for the treadmill. My dad paid for that. The treadmill is in the settlement. It's mine. She raised her phone. I'm calling your mom. She'll tell you to stop acting like this. Call whoever you want, I said. You're not coming in. She stepped forward anyway. That's when my security camera above the door clicked and adjusted. Tiny motor sound, but loud enough in the silence. She noticed it, and her whole energy changed. You have cameras now? Yep. Her face went pale because she remembered all the times she used he yelled or he scared me to win arguments. Cameras don't care about her stories. She tried one last move. Soft voice, tears loading. I just want closure. I didn't flinch. Closure is not a reason to enter my house. Leave. She stood there for a long moment, caught between rage and embarrassment. Then she pointed at the camera and said, You're psycho. I smiled for the first time. And you're on my porch. Leave. She finally walked off. Then, because she couldn't help herself, she kicked my doormat on the way down. Later that night, I printed a screenshot of her mid-kick and taped it inside my kitchen cabinet with the words, Remember, boundaries work. Story 5. My ex came with a moving truck. Not a joke. An actual moving truck. Like she planned to reverse the divorce by force. She marched up to my door with 2 guys behind her in work gloves. I'm here for my furniture, she announced. Open up. I didn't move. Leave. She stared like I'd broken the script. Don't do this in front of them. Great, I said. Then you'll leave in front of them too. One of the movers looked uncomfortable. The other glanced at the truck like he was already thinking, I'm not getting paid enough for this. My ex shoved a folded paper toward me. I have a list. You can't keep my things. I took the paper, glanced at it, and handed it back. This isn't a court order. This is your handwriting. Her cheeks went red. Stop being difficult. You always do this. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me so she couldn't try slipping in. You hired a truck without permission. You didn't schedule anything. You didn't contact my lawyer. Leave. She tried to step around me toward the door. I raised my voice. Not angry, just firm. Do not enter my house. That's when the movers finally spoke. Ma'am, do you own this place? She snapped. I was his wife. The movers shrugged. That's not what I asked. She opened her mouth, then shut it. I called the police and stood on the porch while she tried to negotiate like this was a business deal. Just let me take the couch and we're done. Leave, I repeated. When the officer arrived, my ex tried the victim act. The officer asked for paperwork. She had none. The officer turned to the movers and said, Gentlemen, you're being used. I suggest you leave. They didn't need a second suggestion. They got back in the truck immediately. My ex watched her big plan drive away without her. Then she screamed, You'll die alone. I nodded once, calm as a wall. Maybe. But you're still not coming inside. And for the first time in my life, she had nothing left to threaten me with. Because the door stayed closed. Story 6. She showed up at 11:40 p.m. with a hoodie pulled low and that exact look she used to wear when she wanted to talk, but really wanted to win. I opened the door 1 inch. I just need to grab my passport, she whispered. You don't have a passport, I said. Leave. Her eyes flicked behind me, scanning the hallway like a thief checking cameras. Don't be cruel. It's cold. Then go be cold somewhere else. Leave. She tried to wedge her fingers into the gap of the door. I stepped back and closed it fully. No slam, just final. Her voice instantly changed. So you're really going to lock me out like a dog? You're not locked out. You're just not allowed in. She started pounding. Not hard enough to break it. Hard enough to make noise to create a story. I turned on my porch light, opened my camera app, and spoke clearly through the door. You are trespassing. Leave now. She screamed. Open the door. Then she did something insane. She yelled, Help! He's hurting me! That was the moment my stomach went ice cold. I didn't open. I didn't answer. I just called 911, stayed on the line, and kept recording through the peephole. 2 neighbors came out. One of them asked her, What's happening? She froze like her brain glitched. He won't let me in. The neighbor looked at her like she was stupid. That's not hurting you. When the police arrived, she tried the tears. I played the recording of her fake scream. The officer stared at her and said, You understand false reports are a crime, right? She backed up, shaking, angry at me for not saving her from herself. And as they walked her away from my door, she spat, You're going to regret this. I finally spoke again. Leave. And don't come back. Story 7. My ex tried a new tactic. She brought our old pastor. I opened the door and saw him standing beside her, hands folded like this was an intervention. Son, he started. She says she needs to come in for a moment. I cut him off. No, she needs to leave. My ex smiled like she'd already won. See? You're being hostile. Let him talk to you. I stepped outside and shut the door behind me so there was nothing to enter. This isn't a counseling session. This is my property. Leave. The pastor looked surprised. I'm only here to help keep the peace. I'm keeping the peace, I said, by not letting her in. She snapped. I left my jewelry box in the closet. You cleaned the closet out. I watched you. Leave. The pastor tried again. Could we at least step inside out of the cold? No, I said. You can stand right there. Or you can leave. My ex's face tightened. She didn't like that the pastor was witnessing her fail. So she went for humiliation. Loud voice, theatrical. He's living like a pig. He probably has some new girl in there. I looked at the pastor. This is why I divorced her. The pastor's expression changed, like he'd finally seen it. My ex reached for my doorknob. I stepped forward, put my hand over it, and said, very calm, do not touch my door. She pulled back like I'd burned her, then turned to the pastor. Tell him he can't do this. The pastor sighed. Not at me, at her. Ma'am, you should go. Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. She stormed to her car alone, slamming the door so hard it shook. The pastor stayed a second and quietly said, you did the right thing. I nodded once. I know. Then I went back inside and locked the deadbolt like it was a prayer. Story 8. She came over during a snowstorm because she knew I'd feel guilty. That was her favorite weapon, my decency. She stood on my porch shivering, holding a small bag. I have nowhere to go tonight. I didn't argue. I didn't debate. I said the same words. Leave. Her eyes widened. Are you serious? You'd let me freeze? I'd let you not use my house as your emergency plan. She stepped forward, voice trembling. Just for one night. I'll sleep on the couch. I'll be invisible. No, I said. Leave. She tried pushing past me with her shoulder. I moved one step sideways and blocked the doorway without touching her. She hissed. You think you're so strong now? I pointed at the street. Go. She started crying. Loud, messy, dramatic. This is abuse. Keeping me out. I looked at her and said, you're not a victim because a door's closed. That line hit her like a slap. She stopped crying instantly. Dead eyes. Then she leaned in and whispered, fine. I'll tell everyone you hit me. I took my phone out and aimed it at her face. Say that again. She froze. I repeated, calm. Say it again. She backed up slowly, realizing she'd just threatened to lie on camera. I said, leave. She left. But she didn't drive away. She sat in her car at the curb, lights off, trying to scare me. I didn't look out again. I made tea and went to bed. The next morning, her car was gone. And for the first time, I understood. Boundaries aren't cruel. They're survival. Story 9. My ex used our son as a key. She showed up with him holding her hand. And the second I opened the door, she tried to step in behind him. Dad, Mom wants to talk, he said quietly. My heart cracked. Because he was trying to be good. I knelt and said, Buddy, go wait by the car for a minute. My ex snapped, Don't tell him what to do. He's my child, too. He is, I said, standing back up. And you're still not coming in. Leave. She tried to push forward. I'm not leaving until you listen. I'll listen from here, I said. You can speak on the porch. But you're not entering. She leaned down to my son and said, loud enough for me to hear, See? Your dad doesn't care about us. I felt my jaw tighten. I kept my voice controlled. Do not use him like that. Leave. She started yelling about money, about unfairness, about how I owed her comfort. I didn't respond to any of it. I only repeated, leave. Then she tried to grab the edge of the door and pull it wider. My son's voice cut through everything. Mom, stop! That stunned her. She looked at him like he'd betrayed her. He said again, louder, stop. He said leave. She turned red, furious not at me, but at the fact her own kid didn't back her manipulation. She yanked him toward the car and spat, Fine. Enjoy your lonely house. I watched them go, stomach sick. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A message from my son on his little tablet. Sorry. I didn't know she was going to do that. I told her to stop. I stared at the text for a long time. Then I typed back, You did the right thing. I'm proud of you. And I changed the locks again, just in case love tried wearing my child's face. Story 10. She tried entering my house the day I got engaged. That's not exaggeration. That's the kind of insane timing she lived for. My fiancé and I had just come back from dinner when my ex's car swung into the driveway like she owned it. She got out, saw the ring on my fiancé's hand, and her whole body stiffened. So it's real. I stepped between them. Leave. My ex ignored me and walked straight toward the door, like the door was her courtroom and she was the judge. I need to get my things, she said. You don't have things here, I said. Leave. She reached for the handle. I covered it with my hand and didn't move. My fiancé, quiet, polite, normally, said, Ma'am, please stop. That made my ex snap. Don't talk to me like you're someone. My fiancé didn't flinch. I'm the person who lives here now. My ex's face twisted like she'd been punched. She tried to shove the door open with her shoulder. I stepped back, pulled out my phone and said, very loud, You are not allowed in this house. Leave now. She spun toward the street like she wanted an audience. He's keeping me from my home, my neighbor across the road yelled. It's not your home, lady. A second neighbor started recording too. My ex realized she'd picked the worst possible stage. She went from rage to panic in 2 seconds, then tried the last card, tears. I just want to say goodbye, she sobbed. I looked her dead in the face and said, Goodbye is not inside my house. Leave. She stood there, shaking, trapped between humiliation and obsession. Then she screamed a single word, my name, like a curse, got in her car, and peeled off. My fiancé took my hand and whispered, Is it always like this? I locked the door, clicked the deadbolt and said, Not anymore. Story 11. She tried the I'm sick angle. Texted me all day. Fever, dizzy, scared. Then at dusk she showed up with a pharmacy bag and a weak little cough like a prop. When I opened the door, she leaned forward like she was going to collapse into my arms. I just need to lie down, she whispered. Please. I stepped back so she couldn't fall into the doorway. Leave. Her eyes sharpened instantly. Wow, so you're really heartless. You're not coming in, I said. Call your sister. Call an ambulance. But you're leaving. She lifted the pharmacy bag. I bought medicine here before. This is my safe place. This is my house, I said. Leave. She took one step toward the threshold and I held my palm up like a stop sign. I didn't touch her. Didn't raise my voice. She started swaying dramatically, then glanced at my phone on the side table. You recording? She asked. Thinking about it, I said. That killed the performance. She stood up straight in 1 second. Unbelievable. You think I'm lying? I think you're trying to enter my house, I said. Leave. She snapped. Fine. I'll sit right here until you feel guilty. And she sat on my porch step like a protester. I went inside, locked the door, and turned on the porch camera feed. 10 minutes later, she was scrolling her phone, perfectly fine, typing furious messages. Then she started filming herself, whisper crying, He won't let me in. I'm sick. I opened my door 2 inches and said, loud enough for her recording, You have been told to leave. I am calling for a welfare check. Her head jerked up. Don't you dare. I did. When the EMTs arrived, she stood up fast. Too fast for someone dizzy. The medic asked her basic questions. She answered perfectly. Then the medic looked at her and said, Ma'am, do you need medical help? Or do you need to leave his property? She grabbed her bag and walked away with her jaw clenched so hard it looked painful. Story 12. I caught her trying my back door. Not knocking, trying. I heard the handle jiggle and the soft scrape like someone testing locks. I didn't rush. I didn't panic. I walked to the door, flipped on the porch light, and opened the curtain. There she was, my ex, frozen like a thief in headlights. She mouthed, Open. I opened the window instead. Leave. She made a face like I was humiliating her. I'm not leaving until you give me my photo albums. The albums were boxed and picked up 2 months ago, I said. Leave. She tried a new lie immediately. No, you kept them. I know you did. I held my phone up against the glass so she could see the screen. Live camera view. Her face. Time-stamped. Her eyes flicked to it. So you're spying on me now? You're on my property, I said. Leave. She turned aggressive, walking closer to the window. Open the door. Don't make me cause a scene. I nodded. 'Cause one, it'll be recorded. That's when she did the dumbest thing. She picked up the little decorative rock by my flower pot and raised it like she might throw it. I didn't yell. I just said, clear and calm, if you break anything, it's criminal damage. If you enter, it's trespass. Leave. Her arm trembled. She wanted the power so badly, but she wanted consequences even less. Then my dog barked from inside and she jumped. She hated that dog because it never liked her. She dropped the rock and hissed, You're enjoying this? I shook my head. No, I'm ending it. Leave. She backed away, but not before spitting. You'll be sorry when you're alone. I watched her walk off my lawn. Then I checked the camera footage, saved it, and emailed it to myself with one subject line, backdoor attempt, because my peace wasn't a feeling anymore. It was evidence. Story 13. My ex brought a locksmith. A literal locksmith. She stood behind him with folded arms like she'd hired a magician. The poor guy looked confused. Ma'am said she's locked out of her home. I opened the door and said, She doesn't live here. She's divorced from me. Leave. My ex jumped in fast. He's lying. I have mail here. I laughed once. You forwarded your mail. On paper, in court. The locksmith's eyebrows shot up. I can't touch a door without proof of ownership. My ex's smile twitched. I can prove it. I have a key. She held up a key like a trophy. I nodded. Try it. She stuck it in the lock, jiggled it, forced it, nothing. Because I'd changed the locks the day the decree was signed. She yanked the key out, face flushing. You changed them. Yes, I said. Now leave. She turned to the locksmith, desperate. Just open it. He's being abusive. The locksmith stepped back like she'd offered him a crime. Ma'am, no. I'm leaving. Don't call my company again. He walked away fast, like he could feel drama leaking off her clothes. My ex ran after him, yelling, You're useless. Then she spun back to me and tried to bull rush the door before I could shut it. I closed it calmly, locked it, and spoke through the wood. You are not allowed inside. Leave. She started banging. I called the police. When the officer arrived, she tried the victim routine. He's locking me out of what's mine. The officer asked one question. What's your current address? She hesitated. The officer's face stayed blank. Ma'am, leave the property. She looked at me like I'd betrayed her. Like the world owed her my door. But the only thing the world owed her that day was the sidewalk. Story 14. She waited until she knew I'd be home alone. That was always her favorite time. No witnesses, no risk. She knocked gently. Then when I opened the door, she held up a small framed photo of us from years ago. I found this, she said softly. I thought you'd want it. I looked at the photo and felt nothing but exhaustion. Leave. Her smile cracked. So you're really pretending we meant nothing? We meant something, I said. It ended. Leave. She tried stepping in like it was automatic. I blocked her with my shoulder and she recoiled. Don't touch me, she snapped. Loud, sharp, like she wanted to plant a story. I didn't, I said. You tried to enter. Leave. She raised the photo frame. You're acting like I'm some stranger. You are, I said. Leave. Then she changed tactics. She lowered her voice and said, I know you've been seeing someone. I can feel it. I didn't react. I just repeated, leave. That drove her insane. She needed a button to push and I wasn't giving her one. So she did what she always did when she lost. She went cruel. I hope she cheats on you, she said, smiling. I hope you beg, and she laughs. I nodded like she'd just read a grocery list. Leave. She stared, confused by my calm, then suddenly lunged forward and tried to slip inside anyway. I stepped back, shut the door and locked it. Through the door, she screamed, Open it! I'm not done! I leaned against the wood and said quietly, That's the point. Leave, she screamed again. But the words were weaker now, like a candle running out of air. When she finally walked away, I picked up the framed photo she'd dropped on the porch. I didn't throw it out. I didn't keep it either. I put it in a box labeled Past and taped it shut like a coffin. Story 15. She tried to enter my house with a birthday cake. Not my birthday, our daughter's. She showed up early, smiling too wide, carrying candles like she was the good parent and I was the obstacle. I'm coming in to set up, she said, already stepping forward. No, I said. Leave. Her smile stayed on, but her eyes sharpened. Don't do this. It's for her. It's my day with her, I said. You can drop the cake and go. She laughed like I was joking. I'm her mother. I'm not leaving. I kept my voice flat. You're not entering. She tried pushing past me with the cake angled like a shield. I stepped aside and blocked the doorway again. She hissed. You're going to ruin her birthday. You're trying to, I said. Leave. She turned to the driveway and called out, Sweetie, come here. Our daughter was in the car with my sister, seatbelt on, confused. My ex waved the cake like bait. Mommy brought you something. I felt heat rise in my chest, but I didn't yell. I walked down the steps, closed the car door gently, and told my sister, Stay here. Then I faced my ex and said, loud enough for everyone, Do not involve her. Leave. My ex's face twisted. So now I'm a monster for bringing cake? You're a problem for trying to enter my home, I said. That's when my daughter quietly said from the car, Mom, please go. Silence. My ex stared at her like she couldn't believe her own kid didn't want the scene. Her hands shook around the cake box. For a second, she looked like she might throw it. Instead, she slammed it onto my porch bench, lit the candles anyway, outside in the wind, and yelled, Happy birthday, like a weapon. The candles blew out immediately. My daughter didn't smile. She just looked tired. And my ex, standing there with a dead cake and no audience, finally realized a closed door isn't what made her powerless. Her own behavior did. Story 16. She showed up with a clipboard and a reflective vest like she belonged there. I opened the door and she smiled like we were co-workers. HOA inspection, she said. They sent me. I live in a normal neighborhood. No HOA. I stared at her. Leave. She kept the smile, but her voice got sharp. Don't be stupid. I need to check the smoke detectors. It's required. You're required to get off my porch, I said. Leave. She tried stepping forward anyway, like the vest was a costume that could unlock my door. I pointed at my doorbell camera. Say again you're here for an inspection. Her eyes flicked up to the camera. Why do you have that? Because of you, I said. Leave. She huffed and pulled out her phone like she was calling someone important. Fine. I'll call the HOA president. Call NASA, I said. Leave. She turned her phone screen toward me, pretending it was a call, then lowered her voice. You're going to let me in or I'm going to tell them you're non-compliant. There is no HOA, I said, and you're trespassing. That's when a real city worker truck rolled by. Same exact vest color, actual logo, 2 guys inside. One of them slowed down and looked at her. My ex froze. The worker rolled his window down. Ma'am, are you okay? You with the city? She snapped. Mind your business. He looked at me. Everything all right? I nodded and said, clearly, she doesn't live here. I'm asking her to leave. The worker's face tightened. Ma'am, leave the property. My ex tried to act offended, but now she had a witness who didn't care about her story. She walked to her car, ripped the vest off in the driver's seat, and threw it onto the passenger floor like it had betrayed her. I watched her drive off and thought she wasn't trying to enter my house. She was trying to enter my life again using lies as a key. Story 17. She waited until my new girlfriend's car was in the driveway. That was the whole point. She knocked, then knocked again, then started ringing the bell like she was an emergency. When I opened the door, she lifted a small box. Your mail keeps coming to my apartment. I'm returning it. I don't want it, I said. Leave. She leaned to peek past me. So she's really here. My girlfriend stepped into view behind me and said nothing. Just stood there. My ex smiled like she'd come for a tour. Hi, I'm the wife. Ex-wife, I corrected. Leave. She raised the box like it was a hostage. It's important. I had to bring it. Let me come in for 1 minute. No, I said. Put it down and go. She stepped forward anyway and tried to angle her shoulder past the door frame. I blocked it with my arm. Still no touching. Just a hard stop. My ex's voice jumped louder. Wow, you're blocking me? In front of her? Yes, I said. Leave. Then she did what she always did. She tried to make it sexual. Tell her how you used to beg me not to go. Tell her you cried. My girlfriend finally spoke, calm and flat. Ma'am, this is embarrassing. That hit my ex like a slap because it wasn't jealousy. It was pity. My ex's face flushed. She shoved the box toward me. I didn't take it. I pointed to the porch bench. Set it down. She hesitated, then slammed it onto the bench. The tape split and papers slid out. One was a credit card offer addressed to her new boyfriend. Not her. Him. My girlfriend picked it up, read the name, and raised an eyebrow. My ex snatched it back too fast. I looked at her and said quietly, "You're using my address to hide something." Her eyes widened for half a second. Then she snapped into anger to cover it. "You're insane." I smiled once. Leave. She stormed off with the mail in her arms, forgetting that she'd come here pretending to be responsible. My girlfriend closed the door and said, "So that's who you escaped." I locked the deadbolt and said, "Yeah, and she's not getting back in." Story 18. I got a notification on my phone. Front door unlocked. Code accepted. My stomach dropped. Only 2 people had that code. Me and my ex. I'd forgotten to change it after the divorce because I wasn't thinking about her anymore. I sprinted to the entryway and saw the door crack open. Her face appeared in the gap like a jump scare. "Hey," she said, casual. "I'm just coming in." I stepped forward and slammed the deadbolt shut from inside. "Leave." She blinked. "You can't lock me out." "I have a code." "Not anymore," I said, pulling up the smart lock app. I deleted her access while she watched. "Leave." She laughed like it was cute. "You're being dramatic." "I need to get the mixer." "My mom bought it." "The mixer is mine," I said. "Leave." She tried the old trick. Push through while I'm talking. She leaned her shoulder into the door, testing it. I didn't yell. I just held my phone up and said, "You are attempting to enter my home. Leave now." Her tone turned cold. "So that's how it is. You're going to treat me like a criminal. You're acting like one," I said. "Leave." She stepped back and muttered, "Fine. I'll come back when you're not home." That was the dumbest thing she could have said out loud because my phone was still recording. I looked at the screen and said, "Repeat that." She froze, then tried to snatch the phone through the doorway gap. I stepped back and shut the door fully. 2 minutes later, I had her access history pulled up. Multiple code attempts earlier that week while I was at work. She hadn't forgotten she had access. She'd been practicing. I changed every code, added a second lock, and sent the recording to my lawyer. That night she texted, "Why are you trying to ruin my life?" I typed back one word, "Leave." Story 19. She showed up with a process server like she was delivering a trophy. The guy stood on my porch holding papers. My ex stood behind him, smirking, like she'd found a legal way to force a door open. "Sir, are you—" The process server started. "I'm him," I said. "Hand me the papers." She leaves. My ex cut in fast. "I need to come inside too." "It's about the settlement. It's about you leaving," I said. The process server awkwardly handed me the envelope. My ex tried to step forward with him, like they were a team. I blocked the doorway. "Not 1 inch." "Leave," she snapped. "You can't stop me. This is legal business." I held up the envelope. "This is legal business. You are personal business. Leave." The process server looked uncomfortable. "Ma'am, I'm done here." My ex ignored him and pointed past me. "I see my couch?" "That's my couch." "It's not," I said. "Leave." She stepped closer, lowering her voice like a threat. "If you don't let me in, I'll file for an emergency hearing. I'll say you're unstable." I lifted my phone. "Say that again." She jerked back. "Oh my God, you're recording me?" "Yes," I said. "Leave." That's when the process server finally grew a spine. "Ma'am, I'm not part of whatever this is. Please step away from the door." My ex stared at him like he'd betrayed her. Then she turned to me and hissed, "You think you're so protected now?" I nodded once. "I am." "Leave." She walked off furious, and I opened the envelope right there on the porch. It wasn't even a lawsuit. It was her attempt to modify child support because she'd quit her job. So she dragged a stranger to my house just to watch her get told leave by 2 men instead of 1. I went inside, locked the door, and laughed for the first time all week. Story 20. The house was listed for sale. That's why she came. Because a for sale sign makes people think anything is negotiable. I was doing a private showing with my realtor when my ex pulled into the driveway like she was late to her own wedding. She hopped out and walked straight toward the open front door. My realtor stepped forward. "Ma'am, can I help you?" My ex didn't even look at her. She looked at me. "I'm coming in." "I need to see what you're doing." I said it clearly, in front of my realtor, in front of the potential buyer standing in my living room. "Leave." My ex's eyes widened. She wasn't used to being told no with an audience. She took a step over the threshold anyway. "This is my history too." My realtor held up a hand. "Ma'am, you are not on the showing list." My ex snapped. "Who are you?" "The listing agent," my realtor said, calm. "And you need to leave." That's when the buyer, mid-40s, quiet guy, walked into the entryway and said, "Is she a problem?" My ex turned on him, offended. "Excuse me?" He looked at me. "Because I don't buy problems." My ex tried to laugh it off, but it came out shaky. "He's dramatic." "We're just talking." I didn't argue. I just repeated, "Leave." She looked around and realized she had zero control. Not of the house, not of the room, not of the narrative. So she did the last thing she could. She tried to sabotage the sale. She pointed at the ceiling and said loudly, "Ask him about the leak." There was no leak. My realtor didn't flinch. "Ma'am, if you don't leave right now, I will call the police." My ex stared at her like she couldn't believe another woman was defending my boundary. Then she stepped back out onto the porch, shouting over her shoulder, "You'll regret selling this place." The buyer watched her walk to her car and said quietly, "So, you changed the locks, right?" I nodded. "Twice." He looked at my realtor. "I'll make an offer today." Story 21. She arrived with a suitcase and acted like the divorce was a typo. I opened the door and she was already dragging the wheels onto my porch. "I'm staying here," she said. "My landlord kicked me out." I didn't ask questions. I didn't negotiate. "Leave." Her eyes narrowed. "So you're going to let me sleep in my car? You're going to leave my property," I said. She tried to laugh it off. "Stop. You can't be serious. We were married 10 years, and now we're divorced," I said. "Leave." She reached for my door like it was a handle on her life. I shut it halfway and kept my body in the frame. She slammed the suitcase down. "You're enjoying this?" "No," I said. "I'm ending this." She pulled out her phone and angled it up, filming. "Everyone's going to see what kind of man you are." I nodded. "Good. Film this. You're trespassing." "Leave." Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. She hated that I was calm because calm ruins her story. Then she tried to push the suitcase past my legs, like the suitcase could claim territory. I stepped back, shut the door fully, locked it, and spoke through the wood. "Leave." She started screaming my name, loud enough for the neighbors. 2 doors down, a porch light came on. One neighbor yelled, "Everything okay?" My ex snapped, "Mind your business." I called the police and stayed on speaker. I didn't open again. When the officer arrived, he asked her, "Do you live here?" She hesitated just a second too long. He pointed toward the street. "Then take your suitcase and leave." Watching her drag that suitcase back down the same steps, slower, heavier, felt like watching entitlement finally meet gravity. Story 22. She tried to enter through the garage. I heard the motor whine and saw the door start lifting like someone had the remote. I ran out and hit the stop button. The garage door froze halfway, like the house itself said, no. Then my ex stepped out of her car with the old remote in her hand, smiling. Relax, she said. I'm just grabbing my winter tires. You don't have winter tires here, I said. Leave. She clicked the remote again. Nothing. I'd reprogrammed it last week. Her smile dropped. You changed it. Yes, I said. Leave. She walked closer, eyes hard. You can't keep everything. I paid for half of this. You paid for none of my peace, I said. Leave. She stepped under the half-open garage door like she was daring me. I pulled my phone out and said, loud and clear, do not enter my garage. Leave now. She rolled her eyes. You're recording again. Obsessed? Then she reached up and tried to pull the garage door higher with her hands. That's when the sensor beeped and the door jolted. Small, but enough to make her jump back like she'd been slapped. She snapped, fix your stupid door. I smiled. It's working perfectly. She stood there breathing hard, realizing she couldn't charm the house, couldn't bully the technology, couldn't control the situation. So she tried a new play. She sat on the driveway, blocking my car like a human speed bump. Fine, she said. You're not leaving either. I didn't argue. I called a tow company and the non-emergency line, and I waited. When the police arrived, the officer looked at her sitting in my driveway and said, Ma'am, you need to leave. She pointed at me. He's stealing from me. The officer nodded once. That's civil. This driveway is not. She got up, dusted off her jeans like she was the victim of dirt itself, and walked away. I hit the button and watched the garage door close all the way, slow and final. Story 23. She used a friend to get inside. A woman I didn't recognize knocked, holding a package. Delivery, she said. Needs a signature. I didn't take a step forward. What company? She hesitated, just a beat too long. Then my ex appeared from the side of the porch like a jump cut, already moving toward the door. Got you, she said, smug. Now let me in so we can talk. I stared at both of them. Leave. Her friend tried to play innocent. I'm just helping her pick up her stuff. This is not a pickup appointment, I said. Leave. My ex stepped closer, voice low. Don't embarrass me in front of her. You embarrassed yourself by bringing a decoy, I said. Leave. She tried to slip her foot into the doorway. I shut the door to the chain. Her foot wasn't inside, but her face was close enough that I could see the anger twitching under her skin. You think you're clever? She whispered. You're going to regret acting tough. I lifted my phone. Say that again. Her friend's eyes widened. Are you recording? Yes, I said. Because you're part of this now. Leave. My ex snapped at her friend. Stop staring. He can't record us. Her friend took a step back like she suddenly realized she'd been recruited into something stupid. I spoke calmly to the friend. You're being used. Please leave my porch. The friend swallowed and said, I didn't know it was like this. My ex hissed. Don't you dare. The friend cut her off. No, this is weird. And then, my favorite part, her friend walked away from her first, left her standing there alone, holding her own mess. My ex looked at me like I was supposed to fix it. I didn't. I just said, leave. She stood there another second, powerless, then walked off with nothing but her ego bleeding. Story 24. She came over drunk. I knew before I opened the door because she was leaning on the frame like it was swaying. Hey, she said, stretching the word. I miss you. I kept the door mostly closed. Leave. She laughed. Then her face crumpled like she couldn't decide which emotion to wear. You're really doing this? You won't even let me in? No, I said. Leave. She tried to push the door open with her shoulder. I held it firm and said, louder, leave. That set her off. You think you're better than me now? With your clean little house and your quiet little life? I didn't answer. I just repeated, leave. She pointed at my window. I can see lights. Who's in there? Not your business, I said. Leave. Then she did what drunk people do when pride meets reality. She got loud. He's hiding me, she shouted into the street. He's locking me out. A car slowed. A porch light came on across the road. My ex leaned into the gap and hissed, open the door or I'll break something. I nodded once, calm, and called the police on speaker. Her eyes widened. You wouldn't. I did. When the officer arrived, my ex tried flirting, then crying, then anger, rapid fire, like she was switching channels. The officer asked her, have you been drinking? She scoffed. One glass. The officer looked at her shoes. One heel missing. Okay. He turned to me. Do you want her removed? I said. Yes. My ex froze. That single yes hit harder than any argument. She whispered, wow. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just said, leave. And for the first time she did, because she had no other option. Story 25. She tried the emergency trick, Fire alarm chirping in my house, then a knock so frantic it sounded like panic. I opened the door and she immediately pointed behind me. Your smoke detector. It's beeping. It could be carbon monoxide. Let me in, I'm serious. The detector had been chirping for days. Low battery. I stared at her. Leave. Her eyes widened. Are you insane? You could die. I could change a battery, I said. Leave. She tried stepping in anyway, like saving me gave her permission. Move. I'm not letting you be stubborn. I stepped out onto the porch and closed the door behind me. You're not entering. Leave. She looked shocked that I'd chosen mild inconvenience over letting her cross the line. Then she started talking fast, stacking fear on top of fear. What if you pass out? What if you hit your head? What if... I cut her off. This is not concern. This is access. Leave. That made her angry. You always think the worst of me. I think you're at my door trying to get in, I said. Leave. She took her phone out and said, Fine, I'll call 911 and tell them you're in danger. I nodded. Do it, and you can explain why you're trespassing. She hesitated. I heard my neighbor's door open. He looked over, saw her, and sighed like this was a rerun. My ex noticed him and forced a smile. Hi, I'm just trying to help. My neighbor didn't smile back. He told you to leave. That simple sentence, spoken by someone not married to her, not traumatized by her, ended the game. She stared at him, then at me, then at my closed door like it had betrayed her. Finally, she said, through clenched teeth, You're going to regret shutting everyone out. I said, No, I'm going to regret not changing that battery sooner. I turned, went inside, locked the door, and replaced the battery in silence while she stood on my porch with her emergency and nowhere to put it. Story 26. She tried the I'm just dropping something off trick. 2 grocery bags in her hands like she was doing me a favor. I brought your vitamins, she said. And the good coffee you like. I kept the door on the chain. Leave. She blinked. I'm being nice. You're being strategic, I said. Leave. Her smile tightened. So I can't even be kind without you punishing me? You can be kind from the sidewalk, I said. Leave. She lifted a bag higher. I already paid for it. Just let me set it on the counter. It'll take 5 seconds. No, I said. Set it down outside and go. She leaned forward like she might cry. Then she did something small and nasty. She let the bag slip. Oranges rolled down my porch steps like marbles. Coffee hit the ground and burst. Oh my God, she gasped. See what you made me do? I stared at the mess. Leave. She looked furious that I didn't rush to help. You're just going to watch? I'm going to watch you leave, I said. That's when she tried to step in while my eyes were on the oranges. I shifted 1 foot and blocked the opening without even looking up. She stopped short, shocked. I pointed at my camera. You're on my property. Leave. She snatched her phone out. Fine. I'll tell everyone you humiliated me and made me drop everything. I nodded at the spilled coffee. It's literally on video. Her face twisted. She bent down, scooped up 1 orange and threw it, hard, into my yard like a tantrum. Then she stormed to her car without the groceries, without the performance, without the victory. I picked up the oranges afterward, slow and calm. Like cleaning up her chaos was just another chore I'd stopped doing for her. Story 27. She came with our old house key on a keychain like it was a badge. Open the door, she said. I still have a key. That means I still have rights. I didn't move. Leave. She held the key up between us. You really changed. You used to beg me to come back. That was before I learned, I said. Leave. She jammed the key into the lock and twisted. It didn't turn. She tried again, harder. Still nothing. Her face went red. What did you do? I changed the cylinder, I said. Leave. She stared at the lock like it had insulted her. Then she looked at me and tried to smile. Okay, fine. So I'll come in through the side gate. You can't change every lock. I raised an eyebrow. Try. That made her angry. She marched to the side gate, yanked it, rattled it, then kicked it once. The metal clanged loud enough that my neighbor's dog started barking. My ex turned back, embarrassed, and shouted, You're acting like I'm dangerous, I said. You're acting like you're entitled. She stormed back to the porch and got close, lowering her voice. If you don't let me in, I'll call the police and tell them you stole my property. I held up my phone. You want to make a false report on camera? She froze. A car rolled by slow. Someone in the passenger seat stared. My ex hated being watched unless she was controlling the story. Finally, she backed down the steps, still trying to salvage pride. This isn't over. I nodded once. It is at my door. She walked off like she was leaving a battlefield. I watched her go, then turned the deadbolt with a click that sounded like a sentence ending.